What's up, everyone? Welcome to RotoGrinders NBA Crunch Time. I'm your host for the weekend, TJ Zwarich, joined on back-to-back days by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got the Triple T formation. Tasteful Tides, Tim Buell, thank you so much for joining us today. A late scratch popping in. We appreciate you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Very, very interesting slate last night. We were talking about this pre-show. I could not believe how low Russell Westbrook's ownership was. I thought he was going to be super, super chalky, and he really only came in around 30%. So it ended up being a pretty good night for me, at least on DK. It was a really, really interesting slate last night, and tonight's slate is pretty interesting as well. But I'm not sure if we're going to have all that kind of backloading stuff that we necessarily did yesterday.
Similar to me last night, I had after all the late swapping around, things like that, I ended up with 80% Scottie Pippen, 80% Nikola Jokic, and 80% Russell Westbrook. So it was a pretty good day, and still somehow didn't win a GPP. A whole bunch of teams in the top 100, top 50, as per usual, but can't complain on another profitable day. Helping us break tonight's small little slate down as well. We got 4 games on DK, 5 on FanDuel. No, switch that up. 5 on DK, 4 on FanDuel. Taylor Smith, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Nice to see y'all again as well. Pretty good slate, I think. Not waiting on a ton of news as far as we know. I think Kuzma and Norm Powell are really the only major Q tags left. And Powell isn't even on FanDuel, of course. So should be fun. We got Simon's news nice and early. So no late swapping for that one, it seems. And should be a good one, hopefully.
See, I have my 150 set of lineups in and ready to go. I have my single entry build. I have 2 different single entry teams today, and I felt so good about both of them. And now I'm sitting here looking at this team, realizing I don't have a single Brooklyn net on that team. And now I'm wondering if maybe I got to blow it up and start from scratch. Tim, I'm throwing it to you. Help us break this slate down. What are we doing today?
Yeah, I was actually just talking to Richard about this in chat. Maybe we are going to get some Brooklyn in cash with no, Cam Thomas is such a usage monster. Now he's out, so this is going to make some Brooklyn guys seem a little bit interesting. Not really that much news that we need to worry about. I think for the most part, we can play this slate pretty straight up. The Thunder. Aaron Wiggins is questionable. I think that they are better plays over on FanDuel, but so that is a little interesting over on FanDuel. We talked about this yesterday. The Thunder are far too cheap on FanDuel, at least. So if we lose Wiggins, we might be looking at guys like Cason Wallace or Kendrick Williams again.
This is I'm starting off the show with a 2v2 question for you guys. If chat, you got questions, of course, get them into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat, get them into the YouTube chat. We're going to go game by game, then we'll go position by position, giving you the cash game core, and then, of course, we will take your questions. Smash the like button if you're watching us on YouTube. But I want to start off with a question for the two of you. For my own single entry team, should I go Chet Holmgren and Cason Wallace, or Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton? The OKC late night hammers, or the probably chalkier, probably better projecting Brooklyn players?
I was going to say, it probably depends on how chalky you are, because if you need the edge, then it's probably
pretty
the
chalky.
OKC one.
Pretty chalky.
I don't think Chet is going to be, very popular. So probably
and that also
begs
the question: Chet Holmgren or Julius Randle?
I think that's another ownership question. What are you doing the rest of your team? Because Randall's going to be popular. But I also think Randall's the better play. So it kind of depends on what you're doing the rest of your lineup.
Mostly pretty chalky. It's got and Alexander Walker already. I think I'll go to the OKC side. I wish I had 3 lineups instead of just 2. But whatever. People don't care about that. They care about us helping them break down their own lineups today. So let's start diving in. We got the first game of the slate, 2 early games at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We got Atlanta at Brooklyn, and this seemed like a pretty boring game, especially on the Brooklyn side earlier in the day. But we got a lot of players ruled out. We were already expecting Cam Thomas out. He's out for the season now. But then we ended up getting D'Angelo Russell out as well. And so not very many guards available today, as at least as many as they usually have over on the Brooklyn side of things. So Taylor, we'll start with you. How you handling Atlanta and Brooklyn?
Yeah, so Brooklyn looks good. It's a good matchup for them. They're without a couple of high usage pieces, like you said. So Cam Johnson looks good. Nick Claxton, 5-5. Zaire Williams now questionable. So there's another piece of news we randomly get.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think Jalen Wilson was already kind of a pretty good punt at 3-2, and if Zaire's out, I would feel a lot better about that. Tyrese Martin, Keon Johnson, these guys should see pretty safe minutes without Russell and Thomas. Cam Johnson, and Claxton are the priorities, and then you're getting into Jalen Wilson, Trendon Watford country if Zaire Williams is out.
Assuming Zaire Williams is out, I know we're early in this, but assuming Zaire Williams is out, who would you prefer, Jalen Wilson or Nickeil Alexander-Walker?
I think it's still Alexander Walker because he is a better per minute guy than Wilson historically, and I feel pretty good about his minutes. I think he and DiVincenzo should both still see 30 plus, but he's also probably still going to be substantially more popular than Williams. So another ownership conundrum there.
Tim, how about you? Atlanta and Brooklyn, how you planning on attacking this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely Cam Johnson for me. I think is the priority play. I think he's a really good play in all formats. I do love Nick Claxton quite a bit. I would even play like in a super large field. Like if you're building out a few teams, I'd even take some shots on Day'Ron Sharpe at 4,400. But Claxton's obviously the way safer play. But I just wanted to mention that really quick. Keon Johnson, I think, is completely fine also. So, I mean, there are a few Brooklyn players that I think you can play in cash games where, like, I think you can definitely play Cameron Johnson in cash games.
All right. What about the Atlanta side?
Yeah, so the Atlanta side, I don't think there's any priority in terms of single entry or cash games, but I think that they're completely, like, there's a few plays that are completely fine for GPPs. I don't expect a lot of ownership on Trae Young. He's only 10K. Like he could easily go for over 60 in this matchup. So I do like Atlanta here. They are favored by 6 points. This should be a good matchup for them. So I think Trae Young is viable. Okongwu at 7K. I think he's completely fine as well. So those two would be my GPP plays from Atlanta. And then, I mean, you could always, like, you could play Risa Shea at 4,100. I think he's a pretty decent value play on the slate. So I think, points per dollar, he's probably the strongest Atlanta piece. But if I was building out like 20 teams or more, I'd be mixing and matching some of these Atlanta guys just because the slate is relatively small, and I think that they can succeed in this matchup.
I like the Risa Shea call. I think he's a very solid play today. Taylor, any thoughts on the Atlanta side before we move on to the next game?
Yeah, I'm getting a ton of Risa Shea at the moment, which is not exciting or fun, but he's cheap. The minute should be good without LeVert. So I'm okay with that. I think Niang is okay also, under 4K. He's been pretty good per minute since arriving in Atlanta. I kind of have a max 2 of this cheap Hawks thing with Man. I have Man in my player pool, just another super cheap guy you can consider as a punt who's not going to be very popular. But I think Risa Shea is probably the best one here by a mile, and ownership should reflect it.
All right, let's move on to the next game. We have another 6 p.m. game, Toronto at Portland. Portland has Anthony Simons listed as questionable in this one, and they're looking like probably the best source of value on the slate already as it stands. Toronto's without Quickly. They're without RJ Barrett. But they've kind of been priced up for the situation for the most part. Taylor, what are you doing? Or Tim, start with you on this one. What are you doing with Portland and Toronto?
So Toronto is a team that I'm kind of struggling with, just like building out my own set of teams here, because I would love to be playing Scotty Barnes here. Taylor made a good call in his core plays article. It's like, they haven't been consistent with these Toronto guys' minutes. So it's like super sketchy to get to Scotty Barnes, even though I really want to click on him. Obviously this would be a really good spot with no Barrett. He's only 8,300, but it just seems a little bit. I'm probably not going to end up playing him, but I mean that could end up absolutely burning me. I'm getting to a lot of Jamison Battle at 4,400 at small forward only, projecting for around 25 fantasy points. He's definitely a guy that I'm willing to take shots on. Other than that, like I'm not playing Shed or Agbaji, so it's really just maybe taking a shot on Barnes and or getting to some Jamison Battle as well. AJ Lawson, I guess, is an okay play off the bench. He's 4,700, but again, I don't think I'd play him in single entry or 3 max.
Taylor, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of a team for large field for the most part. I really don't want to mess with it. Like we saw Shed start the last game without quickly, and then he got benched at halftime because they might have won the game on accident. Doesn't seem like they're trying to win. They're playing Portland
But they
in
keep
Portland.
freaking winning.
Yeah.
Like it's 6 of their last 7, if I'm not mistaken.
You can see
They're
why
like 3 games out of the playoffs.
Yeah, and he's trying to bench guys mid-game. Like Barnes has played mid-20s minutes. Barrett and Quickly, when they were playing, are playing like mid-20s minutes. Pirtle's playing mid-20s minutes. I guess Battle's the one you feel best about, but Abaji's back today. Mobo's back today, so that probably takes someone like Castleton out of the mix. Jamal Shed, like in theory, is a good play, assuming he's starting, but I don't know if he's going to play more than 12 minutes or if he'll play 35 minutes. Both are certainly within the range of outcomes. So I think you can have them in your player pool. I would just, like Tim said, not be playing these guys in single entry or small field stuff for the most part.
Going back, just kind of playing through a scenario in my head. Say Aaron Wiggins is out and Zaire Williams is out. Tyrese Martin, Jamison Battle, Kason Wallace. How do you rank those 3?
I think I would rank Battle last. And I think probably Wallace first, Martin second, Battle third.
Tim, how about you?
So you said it was Battle, and then who else?
Wallace with Wiggins out, and Tyrese Martin with Zaire Williams out.
I'd go Wallace, Martin, Battle.
Yeah, sounds like all 3 of us are on the same page there. Tim, any final thoughts with this game before we move on to the next?
Do we break down Portland? Yeah, we haven't talked about
Portland side. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, optimals are giving me a ton of Denny Appiah and Donovan Clingan. I think that's completely fine. It does worry me a little bit to play them both, but I mean, it's a really good spot, and their prices are pretty nice. So I mean, they certainly could get there, but playing them both together does give me a little bit of pause. But it's a really good spot. So any of these starting 5s from Portland, I'd be getting exposure to in a 150 set, definitely. But I think that you could play Appiah Clingan. I think you could play Scoot Henderson. I think you could play Anthony Simons. Basically, you could play any of these guys in single entry or small field. It's just kind of like maybe thinking about maybe not playing so many together on the same team, because I mean this is a really good spot, but they're not super cheap either. So it does just give me a little bit pause. I wouldn't play any more than 2 on a team. But I mean, Appiah and Clingan, I would say, are pretty close, to an absolute must play in cash games.
I'm going about this one a little differently because I'm playing this right now as though, and I guess this is a 6 p.m. game, so I don't know why I'm trying to figure this out in advance and play it away as opposed to just waiting for news. I think in my brain this was a 7 p.m. game, but I've been playing it as if Simons is out. And so with that being the case, I'm getting to an absolute ton of these guys. Scoot Henderson's my highest owned player.
I think Simons is already in.
Is he already in?
I thought he was already in, but maybe I read something wrong.
22 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, that sucks. I've just been sitting here wasting my time like an idiot then. Available to play. There it is. I missed that one because he was listed as a game time decision just only about 30 minutes before that. So my bad. I guess I got to redo some things. Any final thoughts on Portland before we switch over to the next game?
Not really. Like, I think I'm probably max 2ing the Simon, Scoot, Shaden Sharp group just because they're all like Scoot or Simons and Sharp are expensive. I'm not sure I want all three of those together. I think they're all fine individually along with Kamara, but yeah, like it is, you have to be aware of just the way you're building with Portland because so many of them do look like good plays. Klingon and Avdia being the headliners.
I just accidentally made it so Klingon is projecting for 3,000 DK points today. Don't want that. Utah at Minnesota. The next game here, we got a team in full tank mode going up against a team that is doing their best with their new roster to figure things out, and they got the highest total on the slate. Big spread in this one. Utah and Minnesota. What are your plans here, Tim?
Not currently getting into anybody in Utah. I'm trying to think like who I would even play in like a portfolio of teams. I guess maybe I'd get to a little bit of Isaiah Collier, but I don't really love that at all. Maybe a sprinkle of Colin Sexton, but I'm staying away from the bigs here. Like all of them, I have no interest in marketing. Kessler, Filipowski, any of those guys. Really no interest at all. I think the hardest thing is going to be this Timberwolves side because we're definitely going to want to get exposure here. No Mike Conley, so Dante DiVincenzo. We have projected to start. He's 5.5K. He's point guard, shooting guard. He's another one of these guys that I think is pretty close to like a cash game must play. Anthony Edwards at 9,100, I absolutely love. And then Julius Randle at 7,400. I think that's way too cheap. So I think he's a really solid play as well. Nickeil Alexander-Walker coming off the bench at 3.7K fills that shooting guard small forward spot. So I mean his price tag is really nice for this matchup. So this is a team like Portland. I was thinking like max 2. I think Minnesota you could potentially go max 3.
Yeah, that's where I have them at right now for sure. I think I'm still okay, even though after my brain fart, I think I'm still okay with max 3 Portland because like Klingon, Avdia, Simons, I think I'd be okay with something like that. But again, I'm in running 150 and not in a single entry. I would get to maximum 2 in a single entry as well. Taylor, Utah and Minnesota, what are you doing here?
Pretty much ignoring Utah. I think Collier should be immune from the tanking stuff. Like it seems like his minutes should be pretty safe either way, even if they get blown out. So he's fine, not a priority. If they do the thing again where Kessler is like a healthy scratch and Filipowski starts, I guess you can consider that, but he's getting pretty pricey. And then for Minnesota, it's nothing groundbreaking. I think DiVincenzo and Nog together is perfectly fine. I'm fine with Edwards and Randall together. I like the spot for Gobert. Utah allows the most blocks and the most steals per game. So that's kind of what he does well. And then on FanDuel, I think Nas at 6-1 is pretty interesting for tournaments, but kind of overpriced on DK. And then even Jaden McDaniels, like he's expensive, but he's still producing at a pretty decent clip. So don't mind that if you're entering a bunch of lineups. But max 3 is probably what I would do as well.
All right, we got a game now that is not on FanDuel, but it is on DraftKings. Charlotte's at the LA Clippers. We got a makeup game here from the LA Flyers. Charlotte's another team that I feel totally okay just hitting the X button on today, except for maybe a LaMelo Ball in tournaments. And then on the Clippers side, it's like a max 1 here for me on Clippers. I'll like them more and maybe bump that up to 2 if Norman Powell's out, but assuming he's going to be in, I'm not getting to too many Clippers today. What do you think about this one, Taylor?
Yeah, it's pretty much a stay away. It has a wide spread. Charlotte's expensive. Bad spot for them. Like they might not score 100 points. Wouldn't shock me at all. So tournament team only. Really the same for the Clippers. Like I think you can get into maybe Bogdanovich if Norm Powell's out again, but even that feels like kind of a reach. Harden and Kawhi and Zoo are all pretty pricey as well. Norman Powell officially in.
Yeah, Powell's in.
There it is.
So yeah, that kind of relegates this whole game to like a max 1 on either side and maybe a max 0 on Charlotte.
Agreed, 100%. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, not really very much interest at all in the Charlotte side. I think they're a pretty easy team to just exclude in your builds. Charlotte's just, I think, just too expensive here. So never mind. I don't mind ever getting to like James Harden, I guess, in large field GPPs, but like this is not like an absolute smash spot. Norman Powell, I mean, he's going to be limited around like 25, 26 minutes. So like at 7-2, I think he's just too expensive. And everybody here just kind of like cannibalizes everyone else. So due to their price tags, it would really just be Harden. Maybe I'd come in at like 10% if you think he's going to be around 15% just to get some exposure in 20 max or 150. But really, I think this game is pretty ugly for DFS purposes.
It's a small slate, so we have lots and lots of time. So get those questions in, throw them in the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat, throw them in the YouTube chat. Shout out to that part in the YouTube chat. He's ready for baseball season. He says he's ready for some Spidey bombs. They're close, my friend. They are coming. We are almost there. And we're almost there already, breaking down the end of this slate already. We have Oklahoma City and Milwaukee. I love this game in real life. I love this game for fantasy purposes. I'm making sure I have at least one Oklahoma City Thunder player in every lineup I play today, and that's leading me to a lot of SGA, Tim, OKC, and Milwaukee. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, I mean, SGA is an absolutely fantastic spot. I can see playing him. He's currently in my FanDuel lineup. I'm building out my DK lineup right now. I can easily see him getting in that lineup as well. He's in a really good spot here. So he's one of, if not my favorite spend up options on the entire slate. The only question that I have in my mind is that maybe I want to, like, in terms of my own lineup construction, just go more balanced, and then he'd have to stay off of that lineup. But if I want to find some value, I would definitely be paying up for SGA. Kason Wallace, I think, is completely fine as well. I think he's a reasonable value play on this slate. So I don't mind him. Especially if Aaron Wiggins were to miss, then I think Kason Wallace would be a really, really strong play. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with Chet Holmgren. I'm probably just going to fade him, but I could definitely see getting to him in GPPs. I love that he has power forward center eligibility. So I love that he has MPE. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to play him because in that same price point, I like Julius Randle a lot more. So I'm probably going to sit on Chet Holmgren for this matchup.
I liked my lineup so much, and I thought it was like so optimal looking that I was like, bang. Hey, and actually I just hit optimize on FanDuel or on DraftKings, and even with the updated projections, it was my old lineup. But I was like, oh, I'm so ready to go for this cash lineup. It looks so good. It was going to be single entry, but it's chalky, and I love how it looks, so I'm going to throw it in a bunch of cash. And that was because I had it. I kind of just, for some reason, in my brain, thought Anthony Simons was going to be out. And so now I'm looking at the one I like best, and it has $600 remaining, which is usually more than I leave. But Tim, on a small slate like this, 5 games on DK, what are your thoughts about leaving that amount in cash?
Did you say 600?
Yeah.
I don't love that. I mean, you can, obviously you can do that, but I don't know. I don't love that.
I wanted to play Keon Johnson, but then that's what leaves me with that $600. Again, that would be if Zaire Williams was out, would be the only way I'd be doing that. But we'll see. We should get the Zaire Williams stuff any minute now. Taylor, OKC and Milwaukee. Who do you like in this one?
The two stars, of course, Giannis on Milwaukee side and then SGA. I think Dame is okay. He's back under 9K. Not going to be owned, I don't think. The Kuzma news is kind of interesting. Like, I think it might open up someone as a punt like Gary Trent or Taurean Prince. Kevin Porter Jr., again, like showing ceiling even at sub 4K. Probably still a large field play at best, even if Kuzma's out, but I don't mind it. And then for OKC, SGA, Cason Wallace, I do like the check call as a Randall pivot. And then we'll see about the Wiggins thing. I think Kenrich Williams started last night. He's 3-4. They're without Dort tonight, so that's one more body missing from the lineup if Wiggins is out. I think guys like Isaiah Joe and Caruso would be okay in that scenario, but still not huge priorities.
Tim, any final thoughts on the Milwaukee side of things before we start going position by position?
Yeah, not a whole lot to add. I would prefer SGA over Giannis, but I mean, obviously, you can always play Giannis anytime you want. But I just don't think it's not that great of a matchup. So I'm out on Giannis, and I really don't have a whole heck of a lot of interest on any of the other Bucks.
All right, let's start going position by position. Once again, get your questions into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat, followed by the YouTube chat. That's the order we will go for taking in questions. YouTube, make sure you are smashing that like button for us. Tim, I figured it out. I adjusted the positions. Only 200 remaining in cash now. I like it. My team looks good. I'm comfortable with it. I think we are going to let it lock and load today. Let me get in. Hold on. Hold the phone, Tim. I don't know why I keep calling your name. I'm just being silly, having some fun. But we got to get Julius Randle in there instead of Chet for the cash team. And now we are ready to lock and load. Make sure, if you're playing multiple DFS sports today or right now, it's the perfect time to do it. We got baseball coming next week, people, next week. Plus, we got MMA, we got PGA in full force, in addition to the last month of NBA for a limited time. You can get your first month of Combo Pro for $79.99. That's just $15 more than NBA Premium and $5 more than PGA Premium. So make sure, or the other way around, actually, $15 more than PGA Premium and $5 more than NBA Premium. So make sure you check it out because it is a wonderful value play. Plus, if you just want access to some of the most advanced NBA data in the market, get shot quality projections for Lineup HQ, rotogrinders.com/shot quality. You can get 1 month access for $40 or yearly for $200. Just want to give it a test run? Try it with a 3-day pass for $9.99. Or you can check out our Props and Pick'em package for a discount. Props and Pick'em package features daily prop picks and fantasy pick'em selections for many of your favorite RotoGrinders experts. Plus, we're knocking 50% off your price of your first month when you sign up at the link below, right down there in the description. Make sure you check it out. We'll go position by position as per usual, starting on FanDuel. Then we will go to DraftKings next. Like I said, we have lots of times for questions. So smash the like button, get them into the YouTube chat, get them into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat, and away we go. Starting on FanDuel at the point guard position. Taylor and Tim, you're both cash experts. You're both tournament experts. So I want both plays from both of you. Starting with you, Taylor. Who are you playing on FanDuel at point guard?
So definitely DiVincenzo, although you don't have to play him at point guard. You can play him at shooting guard. I think SGA is probably someone you want to have once again, just like last night. After that, it's kind of in flux. Trae Young, if you have all the money in the world. Collier or Henderson, I don't mind at under 5K. I think both are cash viable on this slate. And, Cason Wallace is fine. Probably a better value on DK, but if you land on that, I don't mind it.
Tim, how about you?
Yeah, so you're definitely playing DiVincenzo, whether it's at shooting guard, point guard. Probably better at shooting guard, but it's pretty close. SGA, I think, would be your next guy in for your FanDuel cash team. If you wanted to pivot to some other guys for Zaire Williams, officially out.
There you go.
Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson. I think they are definitely in the conversation for single entry. Jamal Shed is definitely in the conversation for single entry. And then Kason Wallace, but I think that he'd be better served in your shooting guard spot.
All right, Tim, take me to shooting guard.
Yeah, so same thing about DiVincenzo. If you're not playing him at point guard, you're going to play him at shooting guard. Definitely a cash game staple. Neil Alexander-Walker, shooting guard, small forward, 4,200, definitely. Now with this your Williams news, Keon Johnson was already popping in FanDuel Optimals. I'm sure this is just going to help his cause even more. It's definitely a guy that you're going to want to get exposure to in cash and any tournament format, because I think he's in a really strong play today. I think again, Anthony Simons, good for GPPs. Anthony Edwards, I think he'd probably be better in your small forward spot, but he's definitely a guy that you want to get exposure to in any format.
All right, Taylor, shooting guard position.
DiVincenzo for sure, and I think Keon Johnson at this point probably is someone you want in cash. A lot of these guys are shooting guard, small forward. So Johnson, Edwards, Aaron Wiggins if he's in, Alexander Walker, Tumani Kamara. All these guys are either shooting guard, small forward. So wherever you want to put them is fine. The ones I prioritize are definitely DiVincenzo, Keon, and then Edwards if you have money to spend.
All right, take me to small forward.
Shockingly, it's a lot of the same guys. Tyrese Martin now with these nets dropping like once an hour. Pretty good play now. Small forward only. Don't love that, but it's fine. Avdia, still a core play, I think. Like in cash, you definitely want Avdia. Just been smashing, playing huge minutes. Great matchup. They're shorthanded without Grant and Ayton, so great play there. So Keon and Avdia would be the priorities. Edwards again. Aaron Wiggins, if he's in, totally fine, but not a must by any means.
All right, Tim, how about you, small forward?
Yeah, so definitely Zaire Williams now. Cam Johnson, he was already a really, really strong play. So either one of these Brooklyn wings, I think, are really strong plays. Neil Alexander-Walker would be your punt play. Aaron Wiggins if he plays. And then Anthony Edwards would be my spend up option here. So definitely, and then Denny Atvia at 7,500. I think he is completely viable for cash or GPPs. And then I was going to have Jamison Battle on my FanDuel single entry team, but I think now he's losing out to too many other small forwards for single entry, so I think I'm going to cross him off the list. But I think he's an okay value for tournaments.
All right, take me to power forward.
Julius Randle is my favorite. He's 7,100. I think he could have an absolutely smash game here against Utah. If Utah can just even keep this game close into halfway through the fourth quarter, I think Randle could absolutely crush here. So I really like Randle. Cameron Johnson, I've already discussed. Denny, I've already discussed. I don't want Giannis for cash games today. I'd much rather play SGA as my one spend up. So Giannis is going to miss my my cash game and my single entry team, but I think he's completely fine if you feel differently. You can obviously beat any matchup. Some contrarian value, I think, would be Risa Shea at 4,900. I think that's a pretty good play. I think you could potentially even go back to Kenrich Williams just because he kind of let down some people yesterday. So I think he's an interesting value play.
All right, Taylor, how about you, power forward?
Avdia, Cam Johnson. I think it is possible to pair Giannis and SGA on FanDuel pretty easily, so I'm kind of inclined to do that if I was playing cash over there. Trendon Watford at 4.2 is a really good value with all these guys in the lineup. He's typically playing like around 20 off the bench. He could see more than that just because they're so thin. So he opens things up a lot. I think I would be trying to play cash now. Power forward center on FanDuel, super cheap. I didn't mention him at small forward, but Jay Wilson also officially starting under 4K. he's fine. Watford's a way better per minute guy, so he's got the higher ceiling. But both, like Brooklyn, you could play the max of 4 a fan lineup, I think, and feel pretty reasonable about it.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I'm even on DraftKings, I'm totally willing to go up to 4, I think, with the Brooklyn players today. Center position, Taylor.
Center on FanDuel. So Watford, you can play there. Klingon at 6K, still a great play, even on FanDuel. Rudy Gobert, mentioned, really liking the spot for him against Utah. Claxton and Okongwu and Chet are all a bit more expensive on FanDuel than DK, but all are perfectly fine. I think in cash, I would just play Klingon, though, and move on.
Tim, how about you?
Yeah, cash games. It's definitely Klingon. I would get too fancy at center tonight, at least in cash games. GPPs, you can definitely pivot to Rudy Gobert, Nick Claxton. I already talked about I don't mind getting to some day run sharp if I was making like a 150 set. Same thing with like a Kongwu. I think he's an okay play. And then I think Taylor's mentioned a couple times, but not Naz Reid on FanDuel at 6,100, and he's power forward eligible. I should have mentioned him at power forward, but 6,100 for Naz Reid, large field GPPs. I think that's a really solid play.
All right, let's make the pivot here over to DraftKings. I just got a new set of lineups in, and Jalen Wilson is now my second to highest owned player on the slate. I think I'm also going to make a rule where I only want to get to Nickeil Alexander-Walker at the small forward position because, wow, are there so many more guards that I want to play than forwards today. I think that's why I'm getting so much Jalen Wilson, is just because the small forward position is pretty darn gross. So I'm going to make that adjustment, rebuild right now. Let's go over to DraftKings point guard position. Tim, starting with you, who do you like?
So you could definitely play Dante DiVincenzo, Keon Johnson. Those guys are all popping in optimal lineups right now. I lost my spot here. Oh, SGA is definitely one of the better, spend up options. I think SGA is fine. If you want to make him your one big spend up on DK, I think it's a fine play. But really, it's DiVincenzo and Keon Johnson that I would really like to start off with for cash games. And then, but if I do a different lineup construction and want to spend up at point guard, it would be SGA for me.
All right, Taylor, how about you?
Not much more to add. I think Trae Young is an increasingly appealing tournament play. Just with all the Brooklyn value, running it back with him is very easy to do. So that's something I will be doing quite a bit on DK, even though he's 10K. But for cash, you're really just looking at Keon, you're looking at DiVincenzo, and then SGA, and that's really it, I think.
All right, take me to shooting guard.
Shooting guard, same as Keon, DiVincenzo. Jalen Wilson is shooting guard eligible. Anthony Edwards all the way up, 9,100. Don't mind that at all. Tyrese Martin, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Cason Wallace. Shooting guard is a very strong position. We haven't even talked about Simons or Kamara or Shaden Sharp. I think they're all viable. Keon and DiVincenzo are the cash core. Jalen Wilson at 3-2, probably also in the cash core.
All right, Tim, how about you, shooting guard?
Yeah, so, you're definitely playing DiVincenzo at point guard or shooting guard. Jalen Wilson seems to be the new super, super cheap option. I don't mind him in cash games. Neil Alexander-Walker, I think, is completely fine in cash games as well. Keon Johnson. So these Brooklyn kind of like wing guys, I think, are very viable in all formats. Anthony Edwards, he's definitely a cash game play, certainly a GPP play. So I mean, Anthony Edwards should absolutely smash in this matchup. So he would be your spend up shooting guard option. Simons, I do like quite a bit in GPPs just as a pivot, but really outside of Edwards, I think I'm going to be going pretty cheap here at this position.
All right, take me to small forward.
Shea is actually popping in our first optimal right now, and I don't mind that. He's 4,100. Again, though, you can play Jalen Wilson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker at small forward, just like you can play them at shooting guard. So they're firmly in play. I love Cam Johnson. He might be better, he might be better at power forward, but I think it's pretty close because at power forward we also have guys like Randall and Atvia and Giannis. So I don't know. It's pretty close, but I think Cam Johnson is a cash game play today. I prefer Cam Johnson over Denny Atvia, but it's pretty darn close because Denny is another really strong play today. But really, there's not a ton of options here. Giannis is currently projecting in our top optimal. I don't know. Like, I think it's still pretty close though between what I want to do with him and SGA.
Yeah,
do you have a lean on that, guys? Like, straight up SGA versus Giannis?
Straight up for me, it's SGA.
Yeah, it's kind of a positional thing that I think makes Giannis pop a little bit more just because the forward spot's weaker, but like they're both pretty strong plays.
Yeah.
Taylor, who do you like at small forward?
So I think it's pretty easy to get Avdia and Cam Johnson if you want to, and still afford SGA or Giannis if you're paying all the way up. So that's what I'd be inclined to do. Shea, totally fine with it. Like Tim said, 4,100, super cheap. Alexander Walker, I think Battle is definitely losing steam in terms of priority now that Toronto's at closer to full strength and the other value that's opened up. And that's probably it. Wiggins is more expensive on DK than FanDuel, so not super into that. I think it's kind of just Avdia, Johnson, Shea, and then Jalen Wilson.
All right. Power forward position. Who do you like?
All the same small forwards, Avdia, Johnson, Shea, and then Giannis at the top. Trendon Watford, 4,600 on DK. Still totally fine with that on DraftKings. Julius Randle, great mid-range play with Chet being the tournament pivot. And then after that, it's just kind of large field stuff. Kawhi, Chet, Kuz, if he's in, is kind of cheap. I don't hate that. And then Niang is also a Shea pivot that looks decent enough.
All right. Tim, power forward position.
Yeah, so I kind of liked Taylor's point about Giannis just because forward's weaker than guard. So I'm really debating what I want to do with Giannis here. But I mean, he's obviously a fantastic spend up option if you want to go that way. You can also go the balanced way of going like Cam Johnson and Denny Atvia. I really like Julius Randle. I think that if I was going to play Denny, I'd almost rather pay the $600 more and play Randle, but it's super close. Like those four, Giannis, Randle, Atvia, Cam Johnson, all fantastic. Shea is power forward eligible, but I think you should be playing him at small forward. So those guys are all in the cash game single entry conversation. I think Watford at 4,600 would be like a large field GPP play for me. Same thing with Kendrick Williams. I think he would be a large field GPP play. Other than that, though, I don't have a ton of interest in this position.
As we go to center, and I ask you guys who's the best center play in cash, I find the lineup that I end up liking best is actually going Julius Randle at center and leaving Klingon off, unless I basically would be left of pick two out of the three, Keon Johnson, Dante DiVincenzo, and Donovan Klingon, because I'm having SGA at the utility spot right now, so I could switch for any of them. So, Tim, where are you leading as the top option for cash? And then how would you rank Klingon with those 5K guards, Donovan, Dante DiVincenzo, Keon Johnson, and the like?
Well, right now, I'd prefer to get to Nick Claxton over Klingon.
Claxton, Klingon, and then the guards.
Yeah, who are the guards that you were talking about?
Keon Johnson, Dante DiVincenzo.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting conversation.
And Scoot Henderson, because actually he projects pretty crazy well too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all about contest type. Like if you're doing like the 150 thing, I'd be taking chances on more of those guards because I feel like centers have
My
a better
bad, for cash specifically.
Oh, for cash, you're going double center, I think. Yeah, like you're going Claxton, Klingon, and cash. So I'm pretty sure I'm pretty confident in that. I do like getting to some of these Brooklyn guys in cash games, so I'm
Then
pretty
who do I
confident.
not play? I'm so confused. This
Yeah,
whole cash thing is stupid, and I don't like it.
why are you playing cash games? I didn't think you ever played cash games.
Because I liked my team so much that I threw it, but it was chalky, and I threw it in cash too. And now I'm changing everything, and I'm trying to figure out what's optimal. And the lineup I like best has Randall at center and SGA at utility, but and everybody is like a cash viable play. But it feels wrong to not play.
So you're going zero true center then?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
I don't
but
think
that's what I'm saying.
think
Like that's the lineup that looks the best to me.
I don't think that's a good idea in cash games.
I think it's just easier for a center like Klingon or Claxton or Gobert to fall into stats than it is for DiVincenzo because he's kind of reliant on his shots falling. And if he's not shooting well, he has a pretty low floor. Like he looks great. He is a great play. But I think if just the nature of the positions, I think centers are generally pretty safe. And Klingon's just so cheap and Claxton's so cheap that I would feel better about them than I would on a shooting reliant guy like DiVincenzo.
The tough part is it's just leading into me to like then I have to leave out Randall then as the guy that it's looking like I'm leaving out. Tim, I don't know what the hell you're doing there where you get to play all these guys you like.
Well, I don't get to play all of them. I mean, it's I can't play every single one, but I mean, I'm just talking about guys that are definitely in my decision making process here. I mean, it's that power forward spot is tough because you've got Cam Johnson, you have Denny, you have Randall, you have Reece Shea, and you have Giannis. Like all these guys you can't play all of them. You have to make a decision. I think it's pretty tough. But if I'm considering, like, I would not play in cash a team that does not have a true center in it. Like whether it be Klingon, Claxton, or both of those guys, I'd be playing at least one of those guys in cash games. And then I don't mind pivoting to like Gobert and GPPs, a Kongwu GPPs. Got a question in chat about Brook Lopez. I don't love it, but I think he's okay. He's going to play over 30 minutes. He's a decent price point pivot away from the Claxton and Klingon group. So if you want to take that risk, I think that's our right in large field.
Yeah, I like it a lot more for large field tournaments, I think, than a type of cash game setting. But Taylor, sorry, I skipped you for so long. Who do you like at center?
Yeah, the same guys, of course. Watford, Randall, Klingon, Claxton. I think Klingon and Claxton is the pairing if you do want a two-center build. I'm fine with Gobert also if you do have the extra funds. A great spot for him. And, Kongwu, Day'Ron Sharp, I like Tim's call earlier about him as a pivot from Claxton, not going to be owned at all. 4-4 on DK, can easily pay that off. Especially with Brooklyn so thin, like maybe they play them together a little bit. Probably not, but it's possible, I suppose. And then in tournaments like Pirtle, I think, and Orlando Robinson are both playable. Definitely a large field thing. Zubats as well, not going to be owned at all against Charlotte.
All right, let's start taking some questions here. I guess my lineup is just going to be what it's going to be, guys. It leaves us Denny Avdia as the one player that I wanted that isn't end up going to be in it, which is terrifying because this dude's been going absolutely crazy lately. But it is what it is because now we got to take some questions, and that's just how it goes. So I'm going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. Once again, make sure you're smashing that like button for us. DK Cash, Anthony Edwards, Wilson, and Watford, or DiVincenzo, Claxton, and Reece Shea, Tim?
The second one, because I definitely wouldn't play Watford. This is a DK, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I want to play Watford in cash games.
Ooh, here's a fun one, and spoiler alert, it's for my lineup. Reece Shea and Avdia, or Julius Randle and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Taylor, for cash.
What was that again?
Avdia and Risachet or Randall and Alexander Walker?
Probably the second one, I think. But fading Avdia feels pretty bad, admittedly.
It does. This is BS. I hate it. Never playing cash again. It's so stressful. I feel like I have to be perfect. FanDuel Cash, Giannis and Martin or Chet and Okongwu, Tim?
Giannis and Martin and who?
Or Chet and Okongwu.
In cash?
Yeah.
Giannis Martin.
All right, going to the YouTube chat here. J3, don't worry. I do see you. I wish you were here more. I've been missing you on the weekdays. I wish I were here more. I'm not playing the NHL slate. I'm sorry. No, Ben Simmons is not viable in cash. J3, don't be doing that. Chet or Randall straight up in a GPP on DraftKings, Taylor?
Just take the ownership. I mean, it depends on the rest of your build, but if you do need the edge, then debt, I think.
Stardog Champion is wondering why you're not interested in Miles Bridges, Tim. He's been hot.
He's really, really expensive. It's the Clippers play pretty slow. They're really strong defensively. So at 9,300, I'm out.
FanDuel GPP, can I play Day'Ron Sharp at center, Taylor?
Yeah, I mentioned him a few minutes ago. I think he's a really good tournament play.
Who is the top cash play? 3,800 for DK Utility. Tim, got to imagine that's SGA. Or sorry, NWA.
Yeah,
NAW. The cousin.
It's nah.
Nikhil Alexander Walker. Large field DK tournament, Taylor. Who is your looking for the best, least chalky player to use at 3,400 or less? He's assuming Jalen Wilson will be chalky. Are there any other options?
Let's
Henrik
see.
Williams or Maxwell Lewis, but neither are good.
I think Batum maybe at 3-3. He's been starting. That's probably what I would say.
2v2 for DK Cash, Tim. Alexander Walker and Klingon or Jalen Wilson and Gobert.
Nah, Klingon.
And so I think he's looking at something. He's probably looking at the exact same lineup I have, if I'm honest.
I was going to say this. It gives him 600 to go from Denny to Randall. Yeah, I like Randall over Denny, but I mean, obviously Denny could do fantastic.
Yeah, that's the exact same thing that I am sitting here worried about as well. Going back to the YouTube chat. Are you okay with playing Ant-Man and Randall in the same lineups in GPPs, Taylor?
I am totally cool with that.
All right. What do we got here? Scrolling. Is there enough value to play both Giannis and SGA in a DK single entry build, Tim?
I will. Yeah, I mean, with this whole Brooklyn stuff, I think there is. You can do it and just play a lot of this Brooklyn, cheap stuff. I don't necessarily like that a whole heck of a lot, but you can do it.
All right. What are your thoughts on Castleton, Taylor?
Not into it. Is he starting? I see their lineup. Anybody know?
I don't think
if he is, I think he's okay. If he's not, then no.
Is Orlando Robinson a sneaky center option? Probably too sneaky. Don't think that is in play today. Harden and AJ Lawson or Giannis and Antetokounmpo in a GPP, Tim?
What was the second one?
Giannis. I said Giannis and Antetokounmpo, didn't I? Giannis and Nikhil Alexander Walker.
And the first one?
Harden and Lawson.
The second one.
Yeah, agreed there. DK large field GPP, Claxton or Brooks, Taylor?
Who's Brooks? Brooke Lopez?
Probably Brooke Lopez. I was trying to figure it out. too at the same time that I asked, but yeah, probably Brook Lopez.
Yeah, Claxton.
Everybody wants to know, why aren't we playing Scotty Barnes, Tim?
I'm just worried that Toronto is too busy with tanking. I'm worried that he's not going to really get his full allotment of minutes. Hasn't played over, I believe he hasn't played over 30 minutes in his last 3 games. So I understand the theory, and that could burn us. If you really want to play him, go for it. But I'm just worried about the minutes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. DKGPP, who are your 2 very favorite plays, Taylor?
Shea and Watford. I'd say.
All right. Claxton versus Klingon for FanDuel. Doesn't say the format, Tim.
Super close between both those guys. I probably would go. I'd probably go Claxton just straight up. I mean, but there is a $600 difference here, so you have to keep in mind, like, what are you getting with that $600 on FanDuel? But straight up, it's probably Claxton.
All right, going back to the Discord here. Got about 2 minutes left to lock. Get your lineups in. Sorry, they're looking for the best 3,800 play, excluding Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They already have him in their lineup. So would you go all the way down to Jalen Wilson, or would you play somebody else, Tim? 3,800 or less on DK.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty ugly. So I think you basically have to go with Jalen Wilson, because he really is the only guy that's in that area. So
for large field PPPs, I don't think it's crazy to try Kevin Porter Jr. and just hope he goes bonkers like he has been lately in super limited minutes, because he's just been going nuts in the past couple games.
You could take shots. I think you could take shots on Kendrick Williams and I can't remember the cheapy guy for Charlotte, Daquan Jeffries. I mean, but again, Wilson's a way better play than both those guys.
Taylor, speaking of Jalen Wilson or Terrence Mann?
Wilson.
Trenton Watford or Sharp, Tim, as in Brooklyn Sharp?
Yeah. It's pretty close. Depends on the rest of your lineup, but I guess Watford.
Are 4 Minnesota players okay for DK Cash?
4?
Yeah.
I think that's too many.
All right. That has hit all of the questions. Great job, everybody. We got about 30 seconds left until lock. Make sure you get your lineups in. We are still waiting on Kyle Kuzma news. Taylor, is there any other news we're still waiting on?
Aaron Wiggins. That's it.
Kyle Kuzma and Aaron Wiggins. So stay tuned to that one. The Aaron Wiggins stuff does make guys with Lou Dort already out. It does make guys like Cason Wallace a hell of a lot more interesting. Is Dort probably not out? Is he out again? I can't remember.
Yeah, Dort.
I remember he left the game last game. So with guys like Dort out, if Wiggins is out as well, and Jalen Williams already gone, it does make that wing position look a lot nicer for OKC. Tim, who's breaking the slate tonight?
I will go with Cam Johnson.
Taylor, how about you? Who is breaking the slate?
I will say Nick Claxton.
All right. Well, both of those guys are in my main lineup, so I guess we will take it. Good luck today, everyone. We have reached lock. We'll be back tomorrow for a full set of NBA content. We got MLB on deck. It is coming soon. Make sure you smash that like button for us on your way out. We will see you next time, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of myself, Tim, and Taylor, peace.